Good evening, Bergantali. This is Master Aleksei Dmitriev, and
I'm Mistress Eleanor MacCarthaigh.
And we are running for the Coronet of Bergental. Mistress Eleanor is a laurel and a pelican, and has lived in Artemisia, where she received her laurel and received her pelican in the East Kingdom. I've lived in the East Kingdom my entire SCA career, and although I've lived in several different groups, started out in Carolingia, and then Quintavia, and now Bergental. And I received my pelican, obviously, from the East Kingdom. We both do a lot of arts and service. So one of the services that we're looking forward to is the possibility of serving as the Baron and Baroness of Bergental.
Okay. I'm going to read the first question. All right. What are your ideas for encouraging recruitment of new members through demos or other recruitment methods? So,
well, we certainly favor demos. In fact, we would like to see a dedicated demo officer as an offshoot of the Chatelaine's office, who coordinates and puts together demos, obviously with the help of the populace. This officer would also be the person to approach when someone in the populace has an idea for a demo, and they would be then responsible for contacting the organization, arranging all of the details, and making sure that we had the staff to support doing a demo on whatever date and time there is. So demos definitely are our best tool for getting new members, public demos especially. And we've seen that in Quintavia, where when I was seneschal there as well. We had several demos we did every year that really were our big recruitment events.
Right. So the one thing we want to make clear is that this would be a separate officership, so that the chatelaine could really concentrate on newcomers and their needs, and maybe creating a newcomer packet and that sort of thing. The demo person we're finding that maybe there's some conflicting, or it makes the job more difficult to have to do demos and have the newcomers and have things ready and that sort of thing. And I think we would love to discuss this with the officers at some time, but this is something we want to suggest. We think that demos bring us more people than anything. We've had a slight influx of some people after the pandemic, and they're really awesome folks. And I think that more exposure, especially after the pandemic, is really going to help us. So we need to do more demos. Okay, next question.
What are your ideas for developing the Bergental community and traditions? How do you plan to get us working together at events and retaining members who join? So creating intentional community is definitely a passion of mine. One of the things we're talking about are ways to develop a Bergental identity and culture. We have several ideas on this front, including creating baronial favors, baronial badges that could be worn by everybody and handing them out, as well as looking at all of our traditions, which you're probably a better. Right. You helped to set a lot of the traditions when Bergental first became a very active barony.
And what would work for us, developing the community and unity, is vital to our group, honestly. So we're hoping that. Thank you. You will. Okay. So anyway, we've been working on the unity, and honestly, I think the pandemic actually separated us a little bit. We tried really hard, and I think it was extremely difficult for some people. But What I am absolutely joyous about is the fact that after the pandemic, doing a couple of events, seeing the people reacting to returning to events, and it's the excitement is returning. So that excitement builds unity and remembering friendships and remembering how much fun it was to work together and to do activities together. I think this creates a lot of unity, and we want to encourage it. We've thought of several different ways to help encourage it in lots and lots of different activity levels and everything, and also make it clear that nobody's would be forced to do anything. It is one of those things that we as a group, creating that identity, creating the unity by saying we are Bergenthali, we are from Bergenthal, we work together, and we make our barony look really good by unifying and conducting efforts and conducting tasks together. And we're looking forward to encouraging that. We've done a really good job at it previous years, and it is coming back to us. So I'm very happy for that. Mm-hmm. All right, next one. What suggestions do you have to bring local households and guilds back into the Bergenthal hive, as well as getting inactive households to resume playing with the barony?
So, when I was Seneschal of Quintavia, one of the things I did to bring the households into the identity of Quintavia was I met with the heads of several households and essentially offered them a officer level seat on our council as a household representative. And I'd like to see Bergenthal do that as well, so that they would be encouraged to attend the business meetings, report on the status of the household, bring any ideas they had for things that the household would like to do in support of the barony, and to have us support them. It's a two-way street.
Right.
I think households can be a great boon to a group because it does provide a cohesive group of members who want to do something towards a common goal.
Just meeting with them to begin with, mm-hmm. And starting out with what would you like to do? What do you see your household doing, or bringing them into the unity and identity of Bergenthal. And we do understand there is a whole thing about where everybody lives and how much distance there is in between. But we have no objection to going to a group like practice or whatever they want to do, a picnic, and just sitting down and saying, so, what does your household need from the barony? Would you like to run an event? Would you like to sponsor a tourney of your choice and bring a prize and that sort of thing? And that sort of activity can really bring households in, to not just to support the barony, but actually to represent their household at a level that's actually productive, but also allow households that really just want to be quiet and sit in the background and to address any issues, because some of the older households I know that are not as active, there may have been issues that we are not aware of, and we need to have a discussion about their expectations and what it is that we can do to address those expectations. I will say that if a household is in a retirement state, there's no reason why we should be encouraging them to come back into something they don't want to be. Times move on and that sort of thing. And I'm not definitely 100% do not want to leave anybody out who wants to play. But there's definitely a thing that we can't pull them. We can't pull them into the group when they don't want to go, because that makes everybody unhappy. Mm-hmm. So if people have questions about that particular thing, I would love to discuss it regardless of the situation, because it's a curiosity to me, because there used to be very strong households in this barony. And listening to what it is that they think and what they need and what they are expecting is the only way to move forward with them, to either encourage them to come back or to just discuss what could change if we need to.
And as far as guilds, we don't actually have any official guilds in Bergenthal. So, there are some sort of unofficial, people have talked about unofficial things like a cook's guild or a scribal guild or a chorus. And we don't actually have any chartered guilds. And maybe that's something that we should look into doing. If there is enough interest in a particular activity, we would certainly be welcome to the idea of creating a charter for a guild and encouraging that. Certainly we're encouraging all activities, and we might have a little bit of an interesting cooking and scribal. We don't have to have a guild though in order to encourage people to gather and participate in these activities.
Right.
We can have scribal get-togethers. We can have cooking, demos at houses. People are welcome to get people to come over to a common area. It doesn't have to. It can be a public area. It can be a private home. But we definitely want to encourage people to get together to engage in these activities, even if there is no formal guild to support it.
Right.
All right.
Excellent. Next
question. With pre-pandemic Bergenthal being known for hosting kingdom-level events, what events run by the barony have you participated in planning or executing, and what are your ideas to return the barony to a prominent position in the kingdom without burning out our volunteer crews or taking a financial loss? Well, as to the first question, I think all of them.
All of them. Yeah. Yeah, one way or the other. If we were going to be present, we've been involved in almost in every kingdom event that we have hosted in Bergenthal. One way or the other. And we have supported other groups who are putting on these things where we could support them with a skill level, like they may have 2 cooks and we have a bunch that we can get together and bring a crew in and support them. Mm-hmm. I strongly feel that Bergenthal is still one of the most popular venues for things like kingdom events. Because of our location, because it's fairly easy to get there. It's central to north and south and east and west, and we have that advantage. Mm-hmm. We do have some issues with sites. We are constantly looking for new sites. We are reviewing some new sites, and we're discussing that with the officers.
I think that's something every group is struggling with,
right?
Especially
every group
post-pandemic.
Right.
A lot of sites are either no longer allowing outsiders, or they've got restrictions. So we're constantly looking for new sites,
right.
And the other thing is, I think, and you alluded to this, is in the past a lot of our kingdom level events have been done jointly with with neighboring groups. We did a lot of groups with Quintavia, a lot of events with Quintavia. We've done events with Concordia, even BBM, and I think continuing to. In fact, we got an award for that at one point.
Yes, we did.
But continuing to draw on the talent and resources of our neighbors,
mm-hmm,
and cooperation with our neighbors only strengthens not just the barony but the kingdom. And I think that if for instance, if we don't have a site but we have an event we want to run, we can turn to our neighbors and say, you have this lovely site, can we co-run an event at that site with you at the kingdom level?
Mm-hmm.
So
I think that's great, and that's a great question, and I believe I don't think we necessarily need to return to the pre-pandemic fame. I think they still remember us.
Yes.
They do still remember us, and it would be part of our job to continue to support and say, all right, officers, do we want to do Crown? What do we want to do? And then go to the royals and say,
yeah,
etc. Okay, so next question.
Yes.
How would you like to address issues such as officer retention or officer burnout? Do you think we should set term limits for officers or reduce the terms of officers and or the cornets?
Well, the terms of the cornets are set by the kingdom. We don't really have a control over that.
And even if we did, I don't think I would reduce them, only because it takes a while to become effective.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important to maintain what the kingdom rule says for that, for term limits.
Yeah, and the only two officers that have term limits again are set by kingdom, being the seneschal and the exchequer, 2-year terms. Now, personally, I would actually, if anything, I would go to the crown and encourage them to increase that to 2 3-year terms, because if, for instance, somebody only wants to be a 1-term officer, it does take at least a year to learn the office if they've never done it anywhere before. It is good that once you've served your 2 terms, as long as you take a term off, you can come back and do it again, and I think that certainly is a good way to do it, because it encourages people to take a break and perhaps do something else. I don't think we have too big a problem locally with officer burnout. Right now we have a full roster of officers, and most of them even have deputies. And if somebody is holding on to an office because there's no one to take it, for instance, I would encourage that person to come and talk to us, because we can certainly help find a suitable replacement if they don't have anybody in mind. But I think our officers are great at their jobs. Some of them have held those jobs for a very long time, and at this point, hopefully, are doing them so easily that they're not feeling pressure once you learn a job well enough. But I would highly encourage everybody to have a deputy, and make sure that nobody is serving in an office that they really don't have the energy to do properly anymore, or don't want to do anymore. Mm-hmm. There's no reason to force people to hold on to jobs if they don't want them.
Yeah, that's how burnout occurs. Is when they have this impression that they have to be the only person doing that job because there's nobody else. Honestly, one of the things the Baron and Baroness can do is also be on the lookout amongst the populace, and just be able to talk to the populace and say, how would you like to try this? And even if they don't make it in the end position and just serve as a deputy, that's okay. They can try it. They can put out the feelers. Because a lot of people, especially newcomers, may have a lot of enthusiasm and maybe not a lot of skill, and that's okay, because all those positions are all trainable. Plus, also, they are extremely rewarding due to all of that. It's like they're rewarding because your impact on the group as a whole is just tremendous, no matter which officership there is. So encouraging people to maybe investigate or look at. I do understand people not wanting to take on officerships, but there are other more temporary roles like autocrat, event stewards and head cooks and people who run gate and people who run smaller portions of events and that sort of thing are highly rewarding also, and is something that people start with to open up the door to figure out how to do these things. I would definitely encourage that, because divide and conquer. You have an event steward, and the event steward cannot do it all.
Yes, delegating
to people who even want to try something for the first time. And if they're trying it for the first time, they should always have a person who's done it before to do it with them.
Who's done it in the barony.
Who's done it in the barony, because we have some unique stuff and unique requirements that we made for reasons, because either the local, either there's local culture, mundane rule, or something like that, that we have baronial rules in order to take care of, and we need to report those things up. So in order to fulfill those things, it's kind of hard to explain. It may sound like nothing, but in order to fulfill the requirements of reporting up,
I think we can simply say, having run events in multiple groups, every group does a little bit differently, and there are reasons. And I think having an experienced autocrat from outside the group come in is great, but they still should work with somebody who has autocrated in the group to learn how we do things, and be respectful of our traditions and our ways
practices.
Our practices.
Practices are our best practice. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Moving on. What is something unique you can bring to the Coronets? What does the role of Baron or Baroness mean to you when it comes to engaging with the community or to the officers? Well, I think the role of Baron or Baroness is all about engagement. I mean, that's their role, is to be the cheerleaders, the inspiration, the showman of the group, and to support the populace, the officers, and to help give anyone who lives in the barony someone who they can not just look up to, but also go to if there is with questions, with concerns,
especially cultural ones,
yes.
Because there are people that deal with individual things if people are curious about them, but cultural things, we have an influx of newcomers come in, so we don't want them to be shy. Starting at the baronial level, having people that are willing to approach the Coronets is reason to celebrate. And that kind of interaction, we want to be as open and as available as we can to our populace, while still having time to be available to those outward faces and those outward platforms that we need to make sure that the barony is represented appropriately to the kingdom, to the society, to other kingdoms and other groups.
And I think the unique thing that we can bring is just a wealth of experience. I've been in the SCA 40 years. Eleanor's been in the SCA
1991.
Many years.
Many years.
And she's lived in multiple kingdoms.
32 years.
I lived in multiple groups and held officerships in multiple groups. She's been an officer in multiple kingdoms. And I think that we can bring all of that different perspective that sometimes because we've always done it that way, is not always the best reason to keep doing something, and that sometimes looking at new ways of doing things is a really good way to move forward.
Right. And we did discuss ahead of time that what we really seriously want to do is every event that we are at, we would like to make sure and make ourselves available. What?
That's down here.
Oh, that's down
another
there?
Question.
Okay, never mind. Next question. Okay.
Yeah.
Number 7.
Given the current length of the baronial seat, what are your goals for the first year with the Coronets? What are your goals with the first 3 years with the Coronets?
Yes.
Okay. Now, fire away.
Well, I think our goal, we have a lot of goals. Within the first year, certainly we want to be in touch with the populace, find out what the populace wants the direction of the barony to go. And that's, I think, probably what we'll concentrate on the first year, is really getting to know people we don't know. We know a lot of people in the barony, but there are certainly people we don't know, as well as helping to establish some traditions and practices that we think will help to establish that culture that we talked about, and the Bergenthal identity. And then, as we go through the next few years, continue to build on that to make sure that the barony is represented outside of the barony, to the kingdom level, to other groups, our neighbors. Again, having good relationship with all of our neighbors, and to encourage the activities that our populace want to engage in.
Right. Which are always changing. And
yes.
The one thing that I can tell you over the years that I have seen is things ebb and flow all the time. Sometimes you get the Artemisian beading disease, which meant that everybody in arts and sciences that was doing sewing all of a sudden beaded everything.
Don't bead your butt.
Don't bead your butt. But that was a thing where even if it's a temporary interest in something in particular, like cloth stamping, like embroidery, like anything like that, we want to say, okay, what do we need to do to assist and support with that? Can we get some teachers to come in? What can we do to support that? And we are fully willing to utilize all of our experience and all our knowledge and all the people that we know in order to find the right way to approach things that even aren't our particular art forms or aren't our particular practice, like heavy fighting. What can we do? Who can we bring in? What is it that we can do in order to give the people performing certain activities the support that they need to move forward? Because forward momentum is always the best.
One of the things that we've talked about is ways to encourage people to participate in tournaments or even demonstrations of their skills, not just, whether it's a martial skill or an arts and sciences skill. And, we would, of course, try our best to observe as many of our fighters when they're in a tournament, whether it's fencing, heavy list, archery, thrown weapons, equestrian. All of these are growing in the barony, and we want to make sure that our people who are engaging in martial activities know that they have the support of their coronets, and we'll be there to cheer them on.
Right. And
we even have an idea to encourage people that we would give out tokens. Anybody who participated in a tournament or even demonstration of, you don't have to, like at Arts and Sciences, you don't have to be in the competition, even if you just show. We would give people tokens to indicate their participation. And then at the end of the year at Yule, we would have a special prize for the people who had the most tokens for participation in their particular field.
Right.
So we certainly want to support everybody.
Right. Definitely. And we also do want to make ourselves as available as possible, as I started to say before. Yes.
We'll still get to that.
We'll still get to that. Yes. Okay. Yes. So anyway, go ahead.
What do you propose to do to deal with dwindling attendance at baronial practices and meetings? I found this one a little difficult because I'm not convinced there is a dwindling attendance. At baronial meetings, I think we actually have great attendance at meetings. There are being virtual has allowed a lot of people to attend who maybe couldn't have made it out on a weeknight. We're trying to make sure that the announcements about those meetings reach a wider audience so that in addition to officers attending, populace are welcome to attend as well. Practices are a little trickier. Yes, we've always had a small attendance at our practices. And I think that one of the things we can do is to encourage additional practices in perhaps the reason why, for instance, a practice in a given location is not well attended is because of the difficulty in reaching it or the time. For instance, we actually have difficulty coming to the Wednesday practices because of work and on a weeknight, it's a very long drive. But if we had multiple practices in other areas, even if each individual practice was smaller, we could at least encourage a bigger pool of people participating in a practice. So I would love to see more practices in other areas of the barony because the barony is quite large. And if we could establish, something a little further north, further west, further east, that people could attend as well, maybe on a weekend instead of a weeknight. We would at least make sure everybody who wants to attend a practice has an opportunity to do so.
Right. And the thing about the lower attendance in certain practices and certain activities can be attributed to a shift. Okay, where are these people going? Have they just stepped out of that particular game, which is entirely possible. It is one of those things that each individual has to decide the activities that they want to do and the amount of time and effort that they have to participate in it. We have no say over that, and we should not have a say over that. Nobody should be forced to do any activity that they are not prepared to do. However, the ones that are doing it, where are they going if they're not coming to fighter practice? So we would go to whatever they're going to and say, should we move this to this event? Are they hosting a fighter practice somewhere or something? Or are they hosting an archery thing somewhere? What are they doing? Can we make that official?
Well, and honestly, having our populace go to practices in other groups is a good thing in my mind, because
Absolutely.
It encourages new knowledge, bringing in new techniques, or they might have learned from somebody else, and also fosters a stronger connection to our neighbors.
Right.
And so I think going to practices outside of Bergenthal, if it is more convenient for you, is certainly not a bad thing.
Let's find out where these practices are occurring, and if people who are attending could let either us know or the officers know where are they, then we can support it. We can find some way to support it, or find out, if not help, but at least we know where these things are going on. So when people say, where is a local fighter practice? Well, they're having one on Tuesday out at this one place. It's small, but it might be close to you, so that we can direct people in the right location. That's going to be important. We don't have to have a lot, but we certainly could use the unity again. So,
all right. The next question is our big one. Number 9.
How do you plan to stay in touch with the populace? How do you plan to adapt your goals and encouragements to the interests of the populace?
And so this has kind of been leaking into some of the other questions. We believe that this is a big, important aspect of being a coronet and a public figure in the barony. Plans to stay in touch with the populace. We have an outlined in our baronial intent letter several ways, and we can reiterate them. One thing is social media. We would plan to create a page specifically for our coronet, our persona as Baron and Baroness, and allow to communicate with our populace through that, multiple platforms, not just Facebook. Also, I'd be willing to get an Instagram and things like that. And we would publish on either the official site or some of our social media site our schedule of events that we are planning to go to, and that way anybody who is coming to those events, we would plan to have a time to sit in state, for lack of a better term, where we would be available to talk to anyone from the populace who wanted to approach us and ask questions, have a little round table, have a little, it's a conversation, obviously, not a formal thing. And I think being able to have those conversations with the populace at events, and meeting new people that way in the barony, or we would encourage during that time, anybody who's new to the barony, that they would come and talk to us and get to know us, or be brought to us by somebody who is experienced in the barony. We also have some thoughts about ways to greet newcomers at events, events that are held in the barony. We would like to follow on the tradition of giving gifts to people for whom this is their first event. And we would, have something we've talked about, possibly a mug with a bowl, a simple feast gear set, and but something that they could use, and every time they used it, they would remember where they got it, and the feeling of being welcomed into Bergenthal. Because after all, this is Bergenthal. Have something to eat or drink, right?
Yeah. We're welcoming. We love everyone. Please come and meet us. But there's also the fact that that's also helps in support of the newcomer thing. If people no matter what event we're at, if you meet somebody who's new or newish, and they're actually from Bergenthal, because this has happened a bunch of times, but at an non-Bergenthal event, because that's the first event they've been able to go to. If you find this out, bring them to us, because we want to sit and have a chat with them, find out what their interests are and everything like that. And the idea is to demystify us and to make us available. So that is, we think that's super important, to be available reasonably, especially at events, and give people opportunity to play the game with us, to play with our people, to point them at the people that could encourage their interests, so that we can encourage their ability to stay. And believe me, we've done this several times, where somebody was ready to walk off because they didn't understand what was going on, and then somebody said something, and pretty soon they're permanent.
Yep.
That happens all the time. We just have to catch them at the right time. Yeah. So,
a friend of mine who's currently a Baron in another group, in fact, says something to me that's very struck me very deeply, which is while we would be wearing those coronets, we would be that persona, the Baron and Baroness, and in some ways we would be setting aside our own interests and activities for a time, not 100%, but certainly they would take a back seat to the needs and interests of the barony, and because it's a job, and we would dedicate ourselves to that job a great deal.
Yeah, I have firmly believed for a very long time that the baronial seat, my first Baron, when we would sit and have discussions, we would sit and discuss philosophy, SCA philosophy, mundane philosophy. And it wasn't like, serious philosophy. It was more like, whom do you serve? Who do you want to serve? Realizing it is a choice. Realizing, why are we still in the game? Why are we here despite whatever troubles, the pandemic, everything like that has occurred? Why are we still here? So passing that information on and doing slight challenges to say, so what do you think? And to prompt thought and to prompt connection is part of the role of the Baron and Baroness. And we take it very seriously to be able to do this, to assist and support. So,
all right. Okay. And our last question is, do you have any worries about financial or mundane commitments interfering with your duties to attend baronial events or represent the barony to the kingdom?
No. No, we do not. We do not have any concerns in any fashion. We can't go to every event. That's obvious, and that's very true. But we will go to every event that we can, whether all baronial events.
All baronial events.
We will attend. That is absolutely. If we're running it, it's
we're there.
We're there. Outside events, we want to go to as common events as possible. We may do them as
other Bergentali are going to,
right?
Certainly,
and also go to other group events to present a face for Bergenthal and to show the support and our unity and kingdom events in particular. But also, we may attend singly. Maybe he's interested in a particular event that I am not. Like, does an activity. But maybe I'll go to an event that he doesn't have to go to. I mean, there is opportunity to do things like that. But we want to attend events, not just to represent the barony, but to be there for the populace, to support the populace and create a presence. So that is our intent. Nothing is going to stop us from doing that. There is nothing in place that we have in our lives that is going to stop that.
All right.
Open comments.
Open comments?
Any open comments?
I think we blathered a lot.
Yeah.
We have been discussing ideas for lots of things that is not appropriate in this venue. But we do have some ideas to restore some of the things that have been done in the past that are traditional for Bergenthal that a lot of the newcomers maybe are not familiar with. But we also want to hear about and take suggestions on new traditions.
Yes.
I mean, there were traditions that were invented because an event changed, either a venue or the ability to do certain activities. So we added stuff, and that stuff became part of the joy of doing those events. And we're always open to that. And we want to support them. But again, like I say, things ebb and flow all the time. If there's an opinion of something that we should consider thinking about dropping, we can do that. We were open to suggestions, taking into consideration the impact on all the barony, the entire barony.
Right. We want to respect the traditions and the older folks who have been in the barony for a long time, but we also want to welcome and embrace new ideas coming in from new people and finding that balance. It can be tricky, but it's something that we would strive to do so that everybody feels that Bergenthal is their barony.
Right. And we are talking about creating a venue of some sort in order for people to put in, oh gosh, I just thought about something, because I know how we all are. And at that moment, they need a venue to drop in a thought or idea for us to consider.
Suggestion box,
kind of.
Yes.
An online one and that sort of thing.
Yes.
So, I mean, we want to make that venue because I know how quickly those ideas pass from our head, and then we go to an event and we go, what was I talking about?
And that would be part of, I think, having a social media presence as the Baron and Baroness on multiple platforms would also give people that opportunity to communicate if that's how they're comfortable communicating.
Right. And suggestion. I mean, we have a very open way of dealing with people, and we're always willing to discuss about certain things. Yes, we can focus on some activities that, he likes archery and can go shoot in archery, and I like cooking and can go to where people are cooking, especially outdoors. Teaching is important to me. Teaching is important to all of us, but we will definitely not necessarily take the leader role all the time. However, but that doesn't stop us from doing like kingdom events and that sort of thing. So we will be there for the barony's need in whatever way that we need to be to support it. Okay?
All right.
Thank you.
I think that's it. So thank you, everyone, for if you've gotten this far, thank you for listening to everything. And if you would like to contact us online with additional thoughts or see us at an event, we are at plenty of events, and we would welcome meeting you and getting to know everybody. Our next event will probably be Pennsic. Yeah. Pennsic, we will be definitely. She'll be there for 2 weeks. I'll be there for the second week.
Right.
And then the next baronial event is going to be the equestrian event in September. So